Hello everyone, Happy New Year. Welcome to my parents' house where I have been hanging out for over a week now, and welcome to the annual Q&A video. Now, the past 2 years we've done a Christmas Q&A because I love Christmas-themed things, as you are surely aware by now. And this year, because I am currently on the only break longer than 2 days that I've taken all year. At this point, the break is like, I haven't done anything in days, and it feels amazing. And I was so comfortable doing nothing that I just kind of forgot to do this on the 26th or whatever. And then when I remembered, my sister, who usually helps me with this, had already gone back to the city. I'm not going back until like January 3rd. And so I decided to do what Doctor Who is doing this year and turn the Christmas special Q&A into a New Year's special Q&A. And so, you asked a bunch of questions, or some of you on Twitter asked a bunch of questions, and I am going to do my best to answer a bunch of them. Will your question come up that you asked? Only one way to find out, and that's by watching. On to the questions. Up first, what piece of 2018 media clearly sucked but that you loved? I think the closest thing would be the motion picture Venom, which is a bad movie that I had a surprising amount of fun at. And to be clear, the first half of the movie is pretty boring, but the second half goes nuts and is really wacky. Still bad, but I had fun, so that's the closest thing, I guess. What 90s TV character would you want to be trapped on an island with? 90s TV, okay, 90s TV, that's when I was a kid. So I'm just gonna give kind of a cop-out answer and say Batman from Batman the Animated Series, because he would find a way to get us off the island pretty quickly, and I'd be okay. What comics you've been digging lately? I brought him this giant stack of single issues that I'm way behind on, that I've been trying to catch up on since I've been home. Even though it's only 2 issues in, I am really loving the new Green Lantern series by Grant Morrison and Liam Sharp. It feels like a great, 80s DC series. And for Christmas, I got the deluxe edition of Criminal by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, which I should have read years ago. Anyway, I burned through that in like a day, and it's phenomenal. I can't wait for the new series to start soon. So I could go on forever about comics, but I'm gonna go with that for now. By the way, some of these questions are really good and about bigger topics that I feel like I'd be doing a disservice to just talk about quickly, like off the top of my head in this Q&A. And so I might be saving them to talk about in like a larger, less off the cuff video. Have you watched Gotti? No, I have not watched the motion picture Gotti. So 2 movies I've been wondering if I should watch this year are Gotti and Life Itself, which are both apparently massive disasters, truly terrible films, and that people have told me I should watch. And so with both, I'm wondering, are they disastrously bad enough to really be entertaining still and make it worth it? Or will I just be bummed out for 2 hours watching a bad movie? Anyway, tell me in the comments. Have you ever been recognized in real life from YouTube? Yeah, a bunch of times actually. And it always surprises me. And every person who's ever said hello in public when they recognized me has been awesome. The people who watch these videos, in my experience, have all been really cool, nice people. Any filmmaker you'd want to examine in a future essay like you did with Michael Bay? Yeah, there will be at least one video like that within the next few months, I'd say. Do you still think there's value in criticizing film when there's a sudden rise on YouTube of being nothing but positive toward films? Is there a middle ground between this is a plot hole, all caps, and Venom is actually good when we all know it's bad? Correct, Venom is bad. Yes, of course, I do think there is a middle ground, and that's where I feel like I sort of exist a little bit. I've got a series about movies that I think are great, but then I'll do videos about why the Jurassic Park sequels don't work. And for a long time in movie-related YouTube, negativity has been very popular. People love watching videos that are very long about why a movie is terrible. And the channels that lean into that have usually never been especially appealing to me. I just am not into reveling in negativity. I don't demand that everything be super positive all the time, but why spend all your time just obsessing over the things that you hate? And so I found this recent shift toward celebrating things and positivity in regards to film to be kind of a nice change of pace, because I'd rather hear people talk about the things that they love than, you know, spend all their time talking about why things suck. But with YouTube in particular, I think hyperbole is always going to rise to the surface and get the most attention. I don't know, I'm not an expert on the landscape of film YouTube, but I do think that some balance is occurring. And honestly, this is part of the reason that most of the film criticism I consume is still traditional written criticism, which doesn't tend to feel the need to lean into the hyperbole or have like a brand that is all kind of one thing or all one approach the way like a YouTube channel might. But that said, I think we have enough YouTube channels dedicated to why movies are bad, and I am totally down for more about why they're great. What can we learn about fandoms from reactions to The Last Jedi versus reactions to Solo? I really don't want to weigh into talking about Star Wars fandom here. It is, it's a thing I find interesting, but that I hate wading into on the internet. That's why I announced way back in September that I would not talk about Star Wars publicly for the rest of the year. And I'll probably keep that going for a while into 2019. The state of modern fandom, especially on the internet, and in regards to particularly big franchises like Star Wars or superhero things or whatever, is interesting as much as it scares me. And that is something that I would like other people to explore, and I will read about it / watch it. Have you ever changed your mind on a movie you didn't like and now you like it? Yeah, I think the biggest one for me is it took me a while to come around to David Lynch. When I first watched some of his movies my freshman year of college, I think Mulholland Drive in particular, I was enjoying, and the last third of it confused me to the point of anger, and I was like, fuck this guy. And then like a couple years later, when I finally watched Twin Peaks, he clicked for me. And yeah, and I changed my mind, and I'm not like a super fan, but I enjoy David Lynch now. What is the worst movie you loved and the best movie you hated? Worst movie I loved, I mean, if we're talking about classical standards of quality, probably something like Miami Connection, which if you haven't seen it is this wonderful little, very low budget movie made in the 80s by non-professionals. Basically a like martial arts school decided to make an action movie about a taekwondo class that was also a rock band and fought drug dealing ninjas. It's like by all standards a bad movie, but it's so sincere and fun and wonderful that I love it. And the best movie I hated, I don't know, I don't tend to hate a lot of movies. I might not like movies, but hate is a very strong word. I'm not a fan of a lot of Alejandro González Iñárritu's movies, like The Revenant or Birdman, but I recognize that there's great stuff in them. They're made with a genius level craft. So there's things about them that are clearly good, even if I don't like them. What music do you listen to when you're writing or editing? Okay, The Social Network score, unsurprisingly, by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Several by Daniel Pemberton, who has become like my new fave composer in the past few years. His Steve Jobs score, his Molly's Game score, this year his Ocean's 8 score, the David Holmes scores to the Soderbergh Ocean's movies. This year, the Mission Impossible Fallout score by Lorne Balfe. These scores are all very driving and propulsive and rhythmic, and I find them great for sort of getting locked into a rhythm of writing. What's your favorite Studio Ghibli film? Probably Kiki's Delivery Service. Of the films referred to as chick flicks, which is your favorite and why? Okay, first of all, it's 2018. Let's not use the term chick flick anymore, because that basically just refers to movies like romantic comedies or movies that are, have a primarily female audience, and we don't refer to, I don't know, like schlocky action movies as dude flicks and put those down the way we do chick flicks. So it's an outdated, stupid term. Like, I enjoy a lot of romantic comedies. I particularly like romantic comedies written by Richard Curtis. Notting Hill is a particular favorite. I think that's basically a perfect movie. A League of Their Own, which is incredible, R.I.P. Penny Marshall. A lot of these are movies that I know my mom and sister would enjoy and watch, like when I was in high school, and I would dismiss because I was a teenage boy. And then in more recent years, I've been like, oh wait, these are actually good. Like, it took me until maybe 3 years ago to discover that I liked Jane Austen adaptations. Like the 90s Sense and Sensibility that Ang Lee directed, great movie that I never considered watching for years. So guys, chick flicks, they're perfectly good and worth watching and worth studying. And let's stop using that term. What's your favorite Joan Cusack movie? She's such a delightful oddball. You're right, she's great. I'm gonna go with Broadcast News. She's not the lead, but she plays a key role in that movie, and she's great. And the sequence of her running through the offices to deliver the tape on time, perfect. Without Paul King, who should direct Paddington 3? Nobody. Don't make it without Paul King. Would you ever do a video related to Godzilla? This is shameful of me, but Godzilla is is sort of a blind spot for me. The only Godzilla movies I've seen are like the original Japanese one, the unfortunate 1998 one, and then the recent one, the Gareth Edwards one. At some point I need to just like dive in and like watch a lot of Godzilla movies, but until I do that, don't expect a video about it. What's your ultimate long-term goal? Do you want to keep offering commentary on storytelling or eventually get to making your own stories as a director or screenwriter? Any ideas you've had for a script? Yes. Yeah. Look, I hope this doesn't make anyone sad, but making video essays about movies is not my ultimate goal. I have not reached my lifelong dream of doing exactly what I wanted to, but I have a lot of fun with this. This is really good, and this has done a lot for me. But until 2 years ago, I'd never made a video essay. This has been a surprising sort of detour in my career, and it's funny that this is where I've found the most success. But if you look at the YouTube channel from before November 2016, it's all narrative films. That is what I'm most passionate about. That's what I care the most about. And that's what I want to be doing 5-10 years from now. But yeah, the end goal is to make movies, narrative film projects that I'm directing, where I don't have to supply the whole budget myself out of my own pocket. Would love to see you do a video comparing Americans' obsession with Westerns in the 50s to our cultural obsession with superhero movies today. There are too many similarities to not examine this. I agree, but at least for me, I want to wait a few years to really dive into it because a big difference is that basically half, if not more than half, the superhero movies we get are all the product of one studio and basically one big franchise. And so you haven't reached the point that Westerns got to where they're commenting on themselves as much. And so I think we're still a few years out from the like sort of superhero genre growing and becoming self-reflexive. And I think then the comparison to Westerns will get more interesting. How close are we to getting a feature film directed by you? The world is waiting. Look, it would be a lot closer if I could afford to take more time off from the YouTube videos, but this is how I pay my rent. So hopefully not too far off. Everyone loves Christmas movies, but what's a great New Year's Eve scene from a movie? My favorite would be the climax of The Apartment. Yeah, The Apartment is probably the best New Year's movie, but I'm gonna give a cop-out answer and use a TV show, and it's the climax of the New Year's episode of The OC from season 1, where Ryan is racing in slow motion to the party to reach Marissa before midnight, before Oliver Trask sweeps in and gets her. Best New Year's scene, The OC, season 1. What is the largest advantage and largest disadvantage of being able to stream films? The biggest advantage, obviously, is just having immediate access to such a massive amount of films. The biggest disadvantage is that streaming leans so heavily in favor of recent movies, like from the past 20 years in particular, and because video stores have largely closed down, it has become harder to get a hold of older movies. And I think that's bad. That really bothers me. And that's why Filmstruck going away sucks. So there is an irony to the fact that suddenly movies are more available than ever, and yet so many movies are less available than ever. Netflix, get more old movies. Fix that. You have the power to fix that. What is your favorite Kevin Bacon movie, and why is it Tremors? This is embarrassing. I've never seen Tremors. I really should. I know I should. I'll fix that soon, I promise. Favorite use of color in 2018 movies? I'd put Spiderverse up there. Honestly, I would put Aquaman up there just for being a proudly bright, saturated, neon-colored superhero movie that is not afraid to just cram absurd, unrealistic colors on there. Make one of the lead characters have this impossibly red hair. That use of color it made me happy, and also I feel like was significant in terms of the genre, which I know I'm that guy, but like, you know, so often leans into gray, bland, just naturalism. Oh, and also Mandy. That seems like an obvious one. Would you rather fight a bear-sized bee or a beehive full of bee-sized bears? This I can answer pretty easily. A bee the size of a bear sounds terrifying. Imagine how huge its stinger would be. I don't want to fuck with that. But bee-sized bears, they won't have wings. They will have to stay on the ground. Way easier to like stomp and kill and defeat, even though there's a lot of them. I'm picking the hive of bee-sized bears. I don't know why anyone would say anything otherwise. What are your thoughts on Jupiter Ascending? Jupiter Ascending is a frustrating film for me. So I'm like a ride or die Wachowski fan. I want them to make more movies. Studios give them $100 million budgets. They're great. Jupiter Ascending is a movie that I wish I loved. There's things in it I think are great. I love the look of it, the design of it. I love what Eddie Redmayne is doing, and I think it maybe needed another draft of the script. I think even though I like the two lead actors, I think they're too toned down in that movie, and I think everything needs to be pitched on the theatrical level that Eddie Redmayne's performance is. Jupiter Ascending is sadly not one of my favorite Wachowski movies, but I get why some people love it, and I wish I loved it the same way. I'm glad it exists. Sorry if you already answered this question before somewhere, but is YouTuber your only job? It is. It wasn't until like summer 2017, but now it is. How big is your comic book collection? It's very big. Most of it is still stored at my parents' house in the closet of my childhood bedroom, my thousands and thousands of single issues. And at my apartment, my like graphic novel collection, like trade paperbacks and stuff like that, it has overflowed off of my bookshelf. So anyway, comic book collection too big. Do you think the MCU will begin to decline after their grand finale, Avengers Endgame? And do you think that other companies will begin to avoid or stray away from cinematic universes after the fact? It's hard to say what'll happen after Endgame. I think this will be a huge opportunity for them to evolve in a way I think they kind of need to evolve and move in some new directions and experiment and take some bigger risks. And I think the choices that they make after Endgame will determine a lot, not just about the MCU, but about just superhero films in general and the film industry, or at least blockbuster films in general. Has anyone else even really had success with cinematic universes other than Marvel? I don't know. I mean, I think we've encountered several like failed ones. Everyone's just gonna look and see what Marvel does, and I think we're gonna have to wait and see what that is. Do you plan the whole year in terms of videos you want to do in advance, or how do you go about the topics you want to talk about? Oh my God, in no way do I plan out the whole year in advance. I could not do that at all. I have a list of ideas for videos, and I usually schedule them like a month or two in advance. Like I have a general idea of some of the videos I'll be making over the next couple months, and that's as far ahead as I plan. If you had to pick one franchise to star in as the villain, what would it be? None. I don't want to act in movies in anything other than like a little cameo. Casting me in a key role would be a mistake. What is your favorite Steven Spielberg movie? Jaws? I think Jaws. If you had the opportunity to direct a comic book movie, what would it be? I want the whole pitch, which hero, villain, storyline, tone, etc. People have asked this question before. Multiple people asked it for this Q&A, so I'll just cover this now. My dream comic book adaptation, even though it's not technically a comic book adaptation, is a Batman Beyond movie. I would like to largely stick to the sort of like two or three part pilot episode, because I think that origin story and the way they handle it, from like Bruce Wayne retiring, like that whole opening sequence is so elegant. But it's Batman, but he's basically Spider-Man, because look, everything about like his origin and stuff and his world, pretty much Spider-Man, and a lot of his villains also just heavily based on Spider-Man villains. But it's in the Blade Runner city. There's Akira-style biker gangs. There's teen drama, and I love teen dramas. And you get a cool electronic music score. I would say main villain, maybe stick with Blight. He works well for like the villain for the first movie. Maybe bring in Ink as a secondary villain. She's awesome, has an amazing visual. I don't think is a strong enough character to support like her own main story. Obviously have the Joker's gang in there. I think it would be cool to get like Jeff Cronenweth to do the cinematography. For the score, I'd like a collaboration between the group Royksop and Cliff Martinez. I don't just want to make comic book movies, but if I had to make any comic book movie, that Batman Beyond movie, that's the one. How would you rank Spiderverse in relation to the other Spidey films? I think Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 is still on top for me, but this is a close second. How is your screenplay going? I'm ashamed of this. Since Jake and I finished the second draft back in like, was it September, August? I haven't really had a chance to work on it, but during this break that I'm currently on, I intend to like take a look at it and read through what we did and figure out where we're gonna go from here. Jake's already done some of that. He's already given his notes on our latest draft. I've been the irresponsible, busy one. How do you move to New York City? Well, don't do it like I did, because I went with almost no money saved up, with no job, just sort of hoping it would work out, and it kinda did. If you're going to New York, you should like sublet, I would say, a place for like a few months, so you're not locked into a lease immediately, and then you can look around. You've got like a kind of like loose, simple, short-term living arrangement for while you like figure stuff out and like get a job and you know, find a permanent apartment and stuff like that. But yeah, I would save up some money first, because it's stressful when you don't. I am saying that from experience. Who could possibly follow up Josh as the new subject for the podcast? You'll find out. What's your favorite non-comic book that you've read this year? Honestly, it might be, I read it just like as research for an episode of the podcast, but it might be The Black Dahlia by James Ellroy, which I really loved. Have you ever done an escape room? Do you like them? Yes, I did an escape room once. It was when I did YouTube Next Up in November 2016. One of the activities they organized for us was they had us do an escape room, and I did that with the group that I was with there, and we escaped. And it was pretty fun. But that said, I've never really been motivated to go do another one. But I wouldn't say no if it like came up. Do you have a New Year's message for DCEU bros to foster hope for the future? You know what? At this point, I don't know how intense the DCEU bros are anymore, because look, are they still yelling about the Snyder Cut? Because Star Wars fans have become so toxic in the past year, I don't mind the DC ones and the Snyder bros as much. As much as I have been annoyed and at the Snyder bros and the fanboys who harass me. They are doing it because they're defending a thing that they love. And the Star Wars fans, they're motivated by hate and anger. I find that even more unhealthy and more unpleasant to deal with. And so, you know what? I hope the DC bros just like, I hope they enjoy Aquaman, which is colorful and fun. And I hope they just kind of chill out and move on. Do you know Bryce? You should know Bryce. I don't know a single person named Bryce, so no. What are your thoughts on horror anthology movies? Honestly, I need to watch more. I've never even seen Creepshow, which I should see. What's your take on the epic fall and subsequent rise from the ashes of M. Night Shyamalan? Did audiences change? Did he change? Both? Neither? I am all in for the Shyamalan comeback. I'm happy it's happening because clearly, if you look at his early films, is a very talented guy. So his big fall was a combination of audiences just kind of like catching on to what he was doing and then him continuing to do it, but with decreasing quality. And then, he kind of fell and had to get his shit together and start small again and win us back. And I think he's been doing it. I am stoked for Glass. So yeah, I'm glad Shyamalan's back because I love a good comeback. Best Gene Hackman performance. The Conversation. If you've read it, what do you think of Blake Snyder's Save the Cat? I've got mixed feelings on Save the Cat. Because it is a good guide for, if you follow it like to the letter, to how to write a very formulaic type of movie. And I mean, look, Blake Snyder's the guy who wrote Blank Check. He was not a great artist, and so I think there's a lot about it that's annoying. That said, I do think there are strategies in there that are useful for just like, what is it like? You got like the Pope in the pool. That like if you've got to dump a bunch of exposition, have something interesting in the scene going on so that the audience doesn't get bored by the exposition or is less aware that this is just info being fed to them. So there's good stuff in there. It's useful if you can get past the annoying stuff. When it comes to being a filmmaker / content creator, what are the most important things to keep in mind as a person and artist? Always make sure you're making the stuff that you would want to watch. Something that I'm aware of is that I could get more views and more subscribers by like only making videos about Marvel movies or Star Wars movies or jump on whatever is topical. And this is not to say there's anything wrong with people who do videos about those topics or do videos that are always topical and relevant in regards to like what is happening at the moment. But that's not what I want to do. And if I did that, I would grow to hate myself because I was making stuff that I was not as passionate about and that was not what I wanted to watch. So I only make things that I am excited about and that I care about and that I would want to watch as a viewer. Movies you really wish weren't shot in digital. I could go on about this for a while, but every Marvel movie, I mean, especially like post the first Avengers, once they became so massively successful, they should have just started shooting everything on film, or at least whatever the filmmakers wanted to use. I think it does the movies a disservice to require that they all use the Arri Alexa. But I'm not gonna keep going on and on about Marvel cinematography. If you could change one thing about the Star Wars movies, aside from getting rid of the prequel trilogy, what would it be? Okay, I can answer this very simply. It would just, to make Return of the Jedi less lazy, don't do another Death Star. As fun as the Jabba's Palace stuff is, don't spend the first 40 minutes of the movie on an entirely unrelated side quest that doesn't advance the overall story at all. Don't have your big new planet be a forest. Like, I like Return of the Jedi, but in so many ways it is less imaginative and less creative and less interesting than the previous two movies. Yeah, especially like if you look at the Rinsler book, The Making of Return of the Jedi, and you can see the designs they had for like the Empire homeworld that they were going to go to. And I'm just like, you could have done that, and instead you're just like, let's just do another Death Star. Like, there's a lot of missed opportunities there, and I just wish Return of the Jedi were stronger. How do you feel about movies with deaths that you know won't stick, like Infinity War and Batman v Superman? Well, really, those are comic book deaths. And you're talking about the grand tradition of superhero deaths, and superheroes don't stay dead. Honestly, I do think it's interesting that we're getting to this point in superhero movies where the trope of the superhero death that is then undone is now becoming a thing. My thoughts about it are still developing, and I think get back to me once Endgame comes out and we see how Marvel handles undoing those deaths that you know will be undone. What is the stupidest thing that you've ever spent money on? Okay, there's probably something stupider. Back in 2012, when Oni Press started releasing the hardcover color editions of the Scott Pilgrim books, they made these alternate, like, variant covers called evil editions. Basically, they just had like one of the evil X's on the cover instead of like the regular character on each cover, and they cost twice as much as the regular editions, and they just for a different cover. And they only sold them at comic conventions. And I was at New York Comic Con in 2012, and I had just gotten paid from this like big freelance gig I did, so my bank account was full of money for the first time in a while. And I got there and they had the first 2 books out, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get the evil editions, even though they cost twice as much, so it's $40 per book. And then I got them, and I immediately realized that because I am that kind of person, I was going to have to buy the evil editions for every subsequent book, because they released one a year. And so I was going to collectively spend $240, rented over several years, on this series of books that should have cost half that, just because I made a stupid impulse buy with the first one, and I like having matching sets on my shelves, and so that one's pretty dumb. I hope my parents aren't watching this, because they would shake their heads at me disappointedly. When are you going to explain Angleys Hulk to your parents? I'm not. I saw Angleys Hulk again recently. I like the movie. I think, and I especially like it now because it seems so bizarre in the current age of superhero movies. It would never happen nowadays. No one would ever be allowed to do what Ang Lee did back then. But I don't love it. And I only do those videos about movies that I love. In one of your videos, you mentioned going to Skywalker Ranch one time. Can you share more about your visit there? Yes, I can't share photos. I don't think I can. They don't like you to post photos that you take there. It was in 2014. It was that's back when my day job was freelance video work. There was a job, I was working with a friend of mine who had a production company, and we were doing videos out in San Francisco, and one of them involved shooting an interview with someone at Skywalker Ranch. I think that the person who ran the studios at Skywalker Sound, which meant that after our interview, we just got to hang out at Skywalker Ranch for the day. I was so excited. I still have the paper map that they give you when you enter, so you can know where to drive around there. Interesting. So this was after Disney had bought Lucasfilm, and so they didn't sell Star Wars stuff. There was no Star Wars stuff for sale in the gift shop, but they had I had a Skywalker vineyard like marble coaster, because they have a vineyard there. They also make their own olive oil at Skywalker Ranch. The whole place is so cool. I mean, it was designed to be a place that a filmmaker could come and hang out for like weeks while they're doing post-production on their movie. And it is totally a place that you want to just stay for a while and just walk around. It's so nice. It's all beautiful. The houses are all beautiful. The restaurant there where you get lunch, like the chefs are so good. The food is great. And yes, in the main house, they do have these glass cabinets where it's like, oh, there's the original lightsabers, and oh, there's the Holy Grail from Last Crusade, and there's the Shankara stones, and there's the original models of like an X-Wing, and I nerded out real hard. It was really exciting. I want to go back. Yeah, Skywalker Ranch is a cool place. What's your favorite Shane Black movie? Probably still Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Is Tron Legacy as good as I think it is? I think it's very good. Not in my opinion. I think it's okay. I'm not too into the story, but I think it looks great and sounds great. What is the music that plays during your credits that has the sick drum intro? So I get all my music usually from Epidemic Sound. That is a track called To the Top 1. You can find it there. What was the most influential film you watched during your childhood, and what is the most influential film that you watched thus far in adulthood? In childhood, probably the 1960s Batman movie, which I saw when I was like 5 years old, because that set me on the path to where I am now. That kind of caused everything to happen. I don't even know when to, like, what separates childhood and adulthood. A big thing for me was like getting really into Steven Soderbergh, like, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago, and his like approach to filmmaking. That was big for me, just in terms of the influence. So yeah, maybe just kind of rediscovering like the Ocean's movies, and then Soderbergh's more recent movies like Haywire and Contagion and Side Effects and just Magic Mike and stuff like that, and The Nick. Yeah, just Soderbergh movies in general. Is there one thing in particular that you'd like to get into in 2019? Yeah, since it's gonna be on Netflix, I'm looking forward to finally watching Neon Genesis Evangelion. I haven't really watched anime since like high school, and I know, and that's one that's like also short enough that I think it's gonna be like very much my shit, and I hope I get into that. Favorite artsy film of the year? I don't even know, what's an artsy film? Suspiria? What camera and lenses do you shoot with? Pretty much all Sony cameras now. I actually shoot a lot of things, including this right now, with the Sony RX100 Mark IV, a point-and-shoot camera with a built-in lens, yeah. Most of the new Christmas video was shot on that too. And in terms of like when I shoot out with like, I don't know, like an A7 III or an A7S, the lenses I pretty much mostly use are the Canon 24-105 L series and the Tokina 11-16. What's a comic book property you'd love Michael Bay to get his hands on? There was that report that he was maybe in talks to make a Lobo movie. That's it. That's the one. Let Michael Bay make a Lobo movie. Proudest video you made in 2018, and what's the new challenge you want to take on in 2019? Proudest video, I think maybe either the big Michael Bay thing, or maybe the What Do We Want from a Star Wars movie. I think I'm proud of those. And biggest challenge in 2019, make a big thing that's not a YouTube video essay. Who should direct MI7? I said this before, but again, either Bong Joon-ho, Park Chan-wook, or Gore Verbinski. Wow, this is going on for longer than I expected. I'm gonna have to cut this down a little bit. I don't want to release a 2-hour video. Favorite foreign country to watch films from? Probably South Korea. If you could wave a magic wand and erase one movie from existence, which one would you choose? I'm gonna go with The Boondock Saints, because it is my least favorite film of all time. I hate it, and I think the world would be a better place if it didn't exist. Also, it is really cold in this house, if you're wondering why I'm sitting all bunched up like this. What are some of your favorite albums? Maybe my 3 favorite albums ever are Definitely Maybe by Oasis, Purple Rain by Prince, and Body Talk by Robin, which is technically 3 little albums, but they come together as one big one, so I'm gonna go with that. I was reading a Deadline analysis of why Mortal Engines failed, and it concluded that audiences don't want original ideas. Why do you think this is still such a pervasive notion? This is a very, very big topic. Here's my super quick take on it. Because there is so much media and entertainment available at home on streaming platforms, a lot of audiences feel like they're only motivated to go to see movies if they feel like if the movies feel like an event or something like that they have to be like a part of the conversation for. And so when it comes to blockbusters, those are largely very safe bets, like big franchise movies. And it bothers me, but it is proven that it's tougher to get audiences to go see a big movie that's original or not part of an existing franchise that's like they might have to take a chance on, that's on a proven commodity. So yeah, it's not that audiences don't want original ideas, it's that they want things that are safe bets and that they're confident will deliver what they want. And look, if you want a thing like Mortal Engines to do well, you gotta market it really well so that it seems important and exciting, and they didn't do that. If you came with a warning label, what would it say? I don't know. It contains many thoughts about the Fast and Furious movies. I'm gonna stay up tonight thinking about that one. Favorite comics of 2018. Okay, for everyone asking me about my favorite comics or movies or TV show, any favorite things from 2018, there will be a video soon. It's gonna talk about all of those. How would you recommend newcomers start screenwriting? Treatments? I feel like I have a better grasp with story than dialogue, but I want to get better at dialogue and I don't know what to do. Read screenplays for movies that you know and like and learn from those. No, I wouldn't say write a treatment, I would say write outlines and then start the actual writing, but just start it by doing it and then studying good examples that already exist. If they ever made a theatrical Doctor Who film, who should play the Doctor and who should direct? Okay, so here's my thing. If you make a theatrically released Doctor Who film, it should not be a separate adaptation of the show. It should be in continuity with the show. I think the way to do it would be to use a big budget movie to kickstart a new era of the show. And so it would be a good jumping on point for new viewers. It wouldn't be bogged down in continuity. The kind of place to do it would have been the beginning of season 5, the first Matt Smith season with Moffat as the showrunner. That, since it was such a big new beginning, that would have been a great time if they're gonna do a feature film to do a feature film. And yeah, that would be the way to approach it. So whoever would be the new Doctor would be the new Doctor. Who to direct it? There's obviously a bunch of good feature film directors who could crush that, but I'm gonna say Toby Haynes, who I think has done the best directing on Doctor Who. He did the 2-part finale of season 5 and the 2-part opener of season 6, and he did A Christmas Carol, that Christmas special. And I think he, on a TV budget, brought such a scale and visual imagination to Doctor Who. And I think with the budget a feature film would afford, I think he could really knock that out of the park. So yeah, I'd have him do it. Do you think it's more effective for big budget franchise movies like Marvel, Star Wars, etc., to have writer-directors like Shane Black, James Gunn, JJ, etc., steering the ships, as opposed to just directors coming into something already written, like Joe Johnston, Russo Brothers, Taika, etc.? I think it's not so much having a singular person as the writer-director, as I think there's a different process with the way the Star Wars movies have gone, where the director is a part of the development process from the very beginning, and shapes the story, as opposed to the Marvel method, which seems to more be hey, we wrote the story, now director, you come in and just tell it in your style. I'm gonna get into that in videos I will make this year, but I think that approach is a big part of what holds Marvel movies back from being great, which is not to say that every Star Wars movie has been a masterpiece that has been made that way, but I think you get a fuller, more realized vision when you work that way, and I wish Marvel would work that way. Also, the thoughts on Parks and Rec. I love it, it's great. I hope you, Mary, your parents, and everyone else you care about have a great new year. Thank you very much. I think we will too. The family's doing great. Is Back to the Future a perfect movie? Yep. Will you ever do those videos again where you and select friends sit around and discuss the content y'all consume/are consuming/plan to consume? Yes. The favorites videos. They'll be back in a form in the near future. We're working on it. If you could remake any movie, which would it be? I want to see a remake of Event Horizon, because I think the premise is awesome. Combining sci-fi with satanic horror is so cool. There's so much cool stuff in that movie, especially in the first half, and then it goes off the rails and becomes silly and falls apart. And to me, that's a missed opportunity, and I want to see it done really well. Regarding Get Christmas or Die Trying, the Christmas video from this year. If you haven't seen it, you should see it. Where does the blue backpack that held Gwen's Santa suit go? She threw it in the trash can in the bathroom. What else was in that backpack? A notebook and some gum and the binoculars that she had been using earlier. So she lost the binoculars. Did that maniac in the grocery store buy all the cranberries? No, he just worked there, but just knew that they were all sold out. Was that Josh Hartnett as the doorman? Yes. About James Wan's Aquaman's visual storytelling style / aesthetic, do you think it would have a big impact on other spectacle blockbusters? Should it? I hope so. It's been a long time since there was a superhero movie that just embraced the silly, theatrical, colorful, over-the-top, cartoony nature of it to that extent. And clearly audiences are cool with them doing that. And you know what? I would like to see more of that. Just go as comic booky as you can. What films inspire your filmmaking the most? Early Sam Raimi movies like Evil Dead 2, Rushmore. I just watch Spielberg movies and learn stuff and rip stuff off from there. Soderbergh stuff. What is your biggest tip you can give aspiring filmmakers? Just make stuff now with whatever you've got available. I did a whole video about that back in, was it 2017? Called How to Become a Filmmaker, or at least how I did it. So go watch that. What was your best experience seeing a movie in a theater? There's a tie between two. In like December 2000, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. In November 2002, Spirited Away. Both movies I knew basically nothing about. I hadn't even seen a trailer for either one, and they were the most astounding, transporting experiences I've ever had watching a movie. When you synthesize your thoughts for a video, do you put together notes over an extended period of time or write them down as the script when you're ready? A lot of notes, tons of notes, then outlining by hand. Yeah, a lot of that stuff before the actual script. What filmmakers in any part of production or process who haven't been active in a while do you want to see make a comeback in 2019? Sam Raimi. What's he doing? Make another movie, please. Also the Wachowskis. Come on. Who do you want to collab with most? I don't know. I've never done a collaboration. I don't know if would it make the most sense to do it with another person who did like video essay type things, or should it be with someone who does something totally different? I'll just say Casey Neistat, because it seems attainable. We live in the same city, and then I would get a huge surge of new subscribers. That would be good. So yeah, Casey, hit me up. How does one grow toward being good at analyzing what they're watching? Well, it helps to do what I did and just get a degree in cinema studies, where you've got to take a lot of classes on analyzing movies. So the key to all of this, or at least the core idea to like all criticism and analysis of art, is to just ask why in regards to everything in a movie. Why was this done? Why did the filmmaker choose this? Why did the actor choose to do that? Find the meaning in the choices being made. What is the one famous movie you are ashamed you still haven't seen? My big shameful one is probably 8.5, and I've got plenty more where that came from. Okay, final question. What's been your favorite video to make this year? I think maybe the storytelling language of Star Wars. That required rewatching all the Star Wars movies, but just analyzing the actual like craft of all of them. And that was I found to be a really eye-opening, enjoyable experience. I got to just go really far down a rabbit hole, something that I'm very nerdy about, and that was a lot of fun. Okay, so that is all of them, or that's as many as I was able to do. I'm gonna finish eating pie now, because honestly, I am like, this took like 4 times as long as I thought it would, and I have to do other things. And thank you so much for sending in those questions. Thank you for watching the videos. I really appreciate it. You guys are great. You're clearly watching this on the second channel, so I hope you're subscribed. If not subscribed, there's gonna be more stuff coming here soon. I think it's gonna be a fun year. There's some cool stuff planned. I can't tell you exactly what's gonna happen, but stay tuned, keep watching, and I'm gonna turn off the camera now and eat this pie.